You can take the hospital away from the girl, but you can't take the girl away from the hospital. Meredith is on a risky mission, and we're talking all about it starting right now.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome back, AfterBuzzers. Thank you again for joining us on another after show of Grey's Anatomy. And this was a really good episode, you guys. I was like, you were saying there were like chills on your arm.
Absolutely. Goosebumps everywhere, the whole episode.
Goosebumps everywhere. I'm your host, Benny Adams. Thanks again for joining us. Before we get into it, I want to introduce you to my amazing host. To the left of me, we have this girl right here. She has been a fan since day one, watching each and every episode. She is also a huge fan of many of the doctors on that show. Miss Chelsea.
Hello, everyone. So happy to be here.
And then to the left of Chelsea, she is also a huge fan of this show. She has been watching it since day one. Also a huge fan of many of the characters. Miss Haley.
Hey, y'all. Happy to be back. Ready to get into this episode.
Oh, yeah. We have so much to talk
to
you guys about, including some juicy news and gossip about what a possible series finale could look like. Yeah, that should be interesting.
Really cool.
And then we have our special segment, our touching moments that we got from this show. But before we get into anything else, I want to know from you ladies, what did you think about this episode?
It was a good episode. You know, going into last week, it was kind of hard to dive into this season, but this episode killed it. Mm-hmm. We got to see a little bit more depth with where they're going to go this season with Meredith and how, of course, she just has a heart of gold, wants to help people, even if she has to put her own medical license at risk.
Yeah.
And then more in depth with the relationships, and I feel like how they're going to play out this season, too.
My thoughts on this episode? Girl power.
Hell
because this episode had me fired up for all of our female characters.
Oh, yeah.
They were powerful, they were bold, they were fearless, and most importantly, the most beautiful strength of all, they were vulnerable. And I absolutely loved it, and I can't wait to talk about it.
And we are going to talk exactly. Thank you, our producer, J-Lo. Exactly. And we're going to talk about it right now. Let's start off with Meredith. So she is still doing community service, paying for her time, and she still has that itch, you know? Mm-hmm. She like I said in the cold open, you can take the hospital away from the girl, but you can't take it away from her. She continues to try and figure out ways to continue to be a doctor. What did you guys think about how she's still trying to do that?
I told y'all this last week. I was adamant about saying that Meredith was not going to get off this horse, that this is who she is at her core. Meredith Grey is a doctor, and Meredith Grey loves to help people, and that's what she's going to continue to do, obviously at any cost. I mean, that's what we're seeing. She's willing to just go to extreme lengths to help people. She really has always been that way, and I don't see that changing in her character just because she's in a little bit of trouble with the law.
Right.
Yeah. No, I just loved it in the opening scene where one of the workers who involved with her at the community service says, I have this wound. Can you please help me with it? What are you going to do about it? And Meredith, could have easily said, hey, look, I got to do what I got to do. I got to work. But that's not Meredith Grey.
No.
So, no, she, of course, has a whole line of trying to help people. And that's just what I love so much about this character. And not only does she help that girl, but she helps Robin out.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's a touching story, too.
Yeah.
Trying to find out, okay, you need to get this checked with this lump that you have in your neck. I could continue working, doing service, but your life is on the line.
Right.
And at the end of the episode, Robin was just, just shocked. And she's like, I could have waited 2 months to go see a doctor, and you found this out right now. So that is why we just love our Meredith Grey. Even Jackson said that too. He's like, Jackson said she's a good doctor. So I'm going to stick behind her. If I get in trouble for what I'm doing to try to help Meredith out, so be it. But I'm saving someone's life right now.
See, and for me, like what I really like too is there's a little bit between Robin and Meredith in this episode that gave me old Meredith and Bailey vibes.
Oh yeah,
that,
they really went there.
How they're both very bold, strong women, and they kind of challenged each other. But I really liked seeing them kind of interact with one another in this episode. And additionally, can we just for a minute talk about Schmidt? because
Yes.
I love me some glasses.
Yes.
Like,
But I love how you brought up glasses because we haven't heard him being called glasses in a while.
I love him and I love his role in this episode. He is such a genuine heart, and I just really enjoyed how they inserted him into this role with Meredith.
Right, and I'm glad we're seeing more of him also, because I said this last season, I want to continue to see his character grow, and his character has grown, but I want to see like more of him and like
I agree.
what his potential is.
And especially because Helm raising her hand, I'm Meredith Grey. You ain't Meredith Grey. If anything, I want to see Schmidt be Meredith Grey because he has the heart. Like they need to flip that. They
challenge
need to flip that.
writers, challenge accepted. Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it.
That.
We need to see Schmidt end up being the next Meredith Grey, not Helm.
Oh, I'm so down for that. I'm so down. Well, speaking of Meredith, she will do whatever it takes to help these people get better. She's even sending them over to the hospital that Alex and Richard are working at.
Pac North.
Pac North.
Yeah,
yep.
Pac
Yep.
North.
Good
What did
old
you guys
Pac
think
North.
about all that? I like how they're connecting the two worlds kind of.
I agree.
It was good. I could kind of see where Dr. Weber is coming from. He's like, okay, you know, I missed this. I thought I would die in OR2 because I spent, 30 plus years doing this. But I loved how Karev took the high road and said, look, you already built your legacy over at Salone. This is a chance for you to build your legacy here. So think of it as plans change all the time. And with us, we can all experiment that because I, always have a plan thinking, okay, this is how it's going to go, X, Y, and Z. And then it ends up turning out to be A, B, C instead.
Yeah.
So it's just totally different. But I really love their relationship between Karev and Dr. Weber.
Oh, yeah.
Really
yeah,
great.
Definitely.
So do I. And I love how Karev has never been one to back down from a fight or back down from a challenge. And I think this is just going to be one of those other many lists that he's going to be able to accomplish, because it was funny to me how he says, oh no, we're number one. We're number one in failing at this, at failing at this, at failing at this. And then one of my favorite kind of parts in there that made me chuckle was when he was like, can we just get some pins to work?
Yeah.
So that's like the level of where this place is at. But I did love how Meredith trusts Karev and knows that she still has an extension of taking care of these people by sending them to their hospital, because let's be honest, Karev isn't going to turn anyone away, and neither is Richard Weber. Neither one of them will.
Right. And speaking of taking care of people, let's jump to the end of the episode where Meredith has, this crazy idea where, she literally wants to help everyone, and she sees that the system is awful. And so she tells DeLuca that she wants to write all about it. Yeah. But, this is a sticky situation because this could really hurt her. She could really lose her medical license. And I asked this question last after show, like, do you think this is smart of Meredith to do?
Well, with DeLuca and Meredith, I just love the ending scene where DeLuca's like, they were supposed to tell you to lay low. She's like, yeah, but I'm not capable of that.
Right.
Totally Meredith Grey.
Yeah.
The system, I kind of agree with Meredith. It's a little broken. So
it's very broken.
I'm glad that she is taking measures into her own hands, and she is going to expose, and she's going to do what Meredith Grey does best.
Right.
Yeah. I think I have a couple of thoughts on this. So my first being, I'm all for it. Last week I said I was for it. I am here in support of Meredith Grey and everything she's doing. I think also the writers are doing an incredible job of exposing some very real truths that people face in our society when it comes to getting medical help.
Right.
So I think it's kind of beautiful how they're integrating that and making that be aware. And then additionally, I think it's going to help Meredith's case. I think she's going to just come forward and just be the boss lady that she is and be like, I have example X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and like to let these people know, like, this is a problem. This is why I did what I did. Now let me find solutions to help these people. And then on the DeLuca front. So I just enjoyed this because right before that, we see DeLuca and Bailey in their confrontation. And Bailey checks him and says, basically along the lines of, you need to check where your loyalties lie. And what does he do? He goes right to Meredith's house.
Oh, yeah.
He hugs his woman. He supports
That's my baby.
her. And I was all for it. I was like, heck yeah, DeLuca.
Yeah.
Like, you stand up for your woman. You stand by her. And I loved that moment because Bailey definitely was challenging him this whole episode. And I love that he came out on the, to me, better side of that.
Good for him.
I think so too. And with Bailey, I know Bailey was just trying to in a Bailey way, teach a lesson to the hospital, I feel like, with that patient. But she should have not given such a hard procedure to someone who doesn't know what they're doing yet. I think DeLuca should have had his hands in it a little bit longer. So that I was a little concerned off, because I feel like sometimes with Bailey, she lets her emotions get the best of her, and that kind of affects a patient's life a little bit too.
Like, can we just talk about that whole thing for a minute? Like, when you're watching Grey's Anatomy, because for me, a lot of times I'm watching, and when situations like that happen, I'm like, does this happen in real life? Like, is there someone that is working, like, potentially on my body that
I wouldn't
up?
be.
You know what I, like,
I would not be surprised, because their hospital is what they call a learning hospital. So I don't know if there are different hospitals where a hospital isn't a learning hospital. So sure. I could see them doing that. I can see them doing that.
I can't help the fact that, like, that for sure crosses my mind when I'm watching these episodes.
Because I remember I was like, if I've been in hospitals where a doctor comes and then a much younger doctor comes and they'll say, oh, hey, is it okay if this person takes over because he's learning? So yeah, it definitely happens.
I had the same experience as well. I was going through some medical issues, and I had my primary doctor said, hey, she's going to shadow me today. And on my next appointment, the other doctor went ahead and took control a bit more, but my primary was right there. But yeah, I mean, that's what they have to do. That's how we get new doctors.
But it blows my mind every time there's a situation like that. I'm like, ooh, hospitals, man.
Yeah.
And we're gonna touch more on Miranda and her young doctors in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about Amelia and Link.
Yeah.
I loved the storyline.
And
the main reason why I really like the storyline, it touched on something that's going on in our country, and it made you think, people who get abortions, it's not just for one reason. It's not just because, I don't want to have a kid just because I don't want to have a kid. Amelia and Link, they both had very, very interesting reasons as to why. Amelia, she's had a kid before when she was on the other show,
Private Practice.
Link, he's had cancer. He doesn't want the kid to have cancer. And so it's just very interesting to see that point of view as to why they were thinking about not having it. Where did you guys take from both
I enjoyed how they kind of took us through all the stages that if you're watching the show, it was so relatable in that moment, because our initial thought in this day and age is, can I text him? Can I say this over text? That really is kind of our way of communication. And so for her to go from being at that point to then literally having thought vomit when she talks to him about it the first time, it's like,
spewed out.
It was just like every thought she had.
Were you guys shocked about that? I was like, wow.
Yeah, she made it sound like it was,
like she was making a list for the groceries.
Yeah,
hey,
like an
by the way,
appointment.
Hey, by the way, I'm kind of pregnant, so I also had a pregnancy that didn't work out.
No
I
big
should
deal.
probably tell you about that story, but okay, gotta go. Bye, Link. Like, she literally just dropped this bomb on him and walked away. And then to see how he reflected on it with Joe was really cool to see their friendship too, to remind us of how close that they are. And then again, for their 2 moments they have together was really special to me.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree. And let me just say, with Link, the maturity level has increased tremendously this season.
I love them.
He gave it some thought, and I love when he pulled Amelia aside saying, look, if you want this, then I will suck up my fear of being a dad, and I will do this for you.
Yeah.
But if you're not ready to go through this, then I will stand by you, and I will sit through you with that appointment, and we'll do this together. And that's when Amelia said, oh, you're making this so difficult.
Right.
Really cool. I'm a fan of them.
Oh,
I love them.
Huge fan.
Now, this is
Love
a
them.
ship that I will go for.
Yes.
What are they called? Can y'all let us know in the comments? We're checking.
Link
is there
and
a
Amelia.
thing? Like, are they is there a name for them?
Amelia Link? No, that's not right.
Amelia Link. No. Amelia Link.
Yeah, we should come up with one.
We should.
We should just
They
come
need
up
one.
with like each couple, give them a couple name.
They need one.
Yeah.
And then get it trending.
They do.
And then it will
That's
start.
what I'm saying. We're here for suggestions. Drop them in the
Exactly.
chat.
Yes.
Let us know. Yeah, I am officially a fan fan of these
Same.
two. Way better than Link and Meredith. Because I remember last...
Amelia and Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because last season there was this debate, Link and Meredith or DeLuca and Meredith. I always pick DeLuca and Meredith. And I'm so glad that the writers are going this route with Amelia and Link. And I really loved when Link said, I just don't want to see you get hurt.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
That was amazing. And I think Amelia, the way she left, I think she thought Link was going to have a different reaction.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't prepared for that. She wasn't prepared for a good guy.
No, she never has been. Amelia has been in these relationships that have she constantly has been let down, and situations have not necessarily gone in her favor until Link. And did anyone else notice the room they were in? Remember last season, that was the peace room and the serene room with the plants and next to the blue room.
Yes.
So I thought it was cool that was the room that they ended up having this conversation in. And I was like, very nice touch, Grace. Very nice touch. But
I really like how they kind of take it back a little bit. But it was cool. Let's talk about one of my favorite characters, Jo. She is coming back on top finally. It's good. She's not all the way back yet, but we're seeing little glimpses of the old Jo.
Agreed. Yeah.
What did you guys think about how she's just getting offer after offer from Alex and from Miranda?
She's playing it smart. She's saying, okay, this offer came from Karev. Let me see if I could play it on a little bit and let me up it one more and then see what Bailey can do. Mm-hmm. So, no, I was all for it. And I was even more for it when she turned her husband down, husband, and said, look, I'm going to take this offer. And he's like, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
There's no hard feelings there.
Their relationship continues to make me smile because at the end of the day, no matter what their both careers are, and they're very independent as individuals, but they also really, really support one another. And so I thought it was really special that as much as Karev would have wanted Jo at his hospital, he's still happy because he knows that this is going to be what's best for Jo.
Yeah.
And I do like how she was just embracing the situation that she was in, and how she for a second kind of went back to her old mindset of, well, are these pity offers? And then after her conversation with Link, she realized, no, you're a commodity and a hot one at that.
Yeah.
You are a great surgeon.
Yes.
And I love that she just came, powerful woman, straight to Bailey. And that interaction made my heart smile because I love it when people challenge Bailey and kind of basically they out Bailey them. And that's exactly what Jo did.
She did that.
And even the little look that she gave when Bailey, kind of looks down and doesn't say anything and then closes her computer and Jo was like, hey, Bailey, are you going to give me an answer? I just loved it. That whole interaction. Very proud of Jo.
Yeah.
Very proud of her.
Yeah. I'm not going to, I was a little worried at first when she was getting all these offers, these amazing offers. And I was worried that she was going to get overwhelmed and get taken back to that dark place. But I'm really glad that the writers chose a different route for her.
Agreed.
And she decided to take her own path and make something from those offers even bigger and better.
Yeah.
And that's how you do it. That's
exactly
how you
Girl
do it.
boss status.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about, we kind of touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about Alex and Richard. Do you guys think they're going to really stay at this hospital in the long run?
I do.
Yeah.
I think they could build up a legacy there, what Karev has mentioned. There's so much potential into that hospital.
Yeah.
And I think, eventually be great if Meredith can join that hospital too. That's kind of what I'm hoping for, maybe for my predictions. But no, I think there's a lot of potential. I think there is so much they could do with that and just training their staff.
Yeah.
And I love Weber and Karev. I think they make such a great team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're starting from the bottom,
Really?
which is awesome to me. And it's you're seeing something start from the beginning, which I really like.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're obviously two of the OGs of the show. So the fact that they're able to take a hospital that's in last place in everything and really work it and make it a Karev and Weber production, I think it's going to be very, very special. And I think it's going to be a fun storyline this whole season.
Yeah, yeah. and maybe even a potential spin-off, another hospital
Oh, gosh.
focusing on a bunch of
Path
other
North.
doctors. Right, exactly.
Back north. Well, who knows? Maybe that would pick up right after Grey's too. So maybe they're just they're getting ready for it.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about Miranda and her students. What did you guys think about this entire storyline? I thought, one, it was very educational, but on the other hand, I thought it was hilarious as
Agreed.
well.
Yeah, I liked the fact that we saw Bailey in the beginning, venting to Ben, and we can't lose sight of the fact that I love their relationship, always have, and that she talks about that she's lost this joy, and she kind of says, because this man is now that I can't stand is my boss, and Catherine took this away from me, yada, yada, yada. And then when she's in the classroom doing what Bailey's always done best, she goes back to that saying, joy. And that's right after she kind of got onto them a little bit. And it was fun to just kind of see Bailey back centered and doing what Bailey does best.
Yeah, it took me back to the very first episode with how Bailey was just controlling all the students.
Right.
Totally Bailey mold. And that's why I love her, I mean, she did teach a few lessons in there as well. I mean, but the patient being at cost, thank God DeLuca was in there. And, I don't think it would have gone to a point where they would lose a patient over that. But I think she's setting her ground, saying, hey, don't think you're the best. Stay humbled. And remember, you have to work your way up in the hospital. So I think Bailey's always going to be there saying, don't ever think that you're better than anybody else, because she will put you back in your place.
Oh, yeah. Leave it to Bailey to do that. And do you guys think that DeLuca had a right to be mad at Bailey for doing what she did?
I was a little conflicted because just knowing how Bailey is, and Bailey can be spiteful, whether she wants to admit it or not, because she won't admit it until something bad usually happens.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought this was Bailey being Bailey and being spiteful, and so I think that
Really?
I did. I really did. And just because how she's reacting about, like, she didn't even want Helm to talk to Meredith when Meredith was just sitting in the waiting room.
Yeah.
And so she is very angry at Meredith. I think she's angry because this was her friend. This was her best doctor. She, in result, has lost several doctors. So Meredith hasn't put Bailey in the best situation. And
Right.
I do think that Bailey a little bit was taking it out on DeLuca, but man, did she stick it to him.
She did.
Well, she brought out every characteristic of Bailey that we've known Bailey to be happened in that moment. She Bailey'd on
She
DeLuca.
did.
She Bailey'd on DeLuca.
Yeah.
See, so you bring up a good point, and I wasn't really, now I'm kind of conflicted a little bit, but at the same time, we've seen in past seasons, doctors / interns get put into predicaments that they're not ready for.
Yeah.
And like you guys said, they're put into these situations so they know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Because you got to get thrown in the fire. So I kind of do think that she had her reasoning, and she's been doing this for a very long time. And so she knows what she's doing. And so that's why I thought that I didn't think DeLuca should have been that mad at her. He should have understood, hey, these people are younger than him. They need to learn more. And just let it go.
I think for me, did anyone else out there also while watching this, I just had this gut feeling. I knew Helm was going to fail. I know that sounds bad, but I knew she was going to. It kind of set up perfectly that,
and it was realistic.
Exactly. Like, I knew that something wasn't going to go right with her. DeLuca was going to step in, save the day, and want this praise. And so you kind of saw that coming. But overall, I think that was kind of a natural storyline for me.
I think it was good that he stepped in, but he shouldn't want the praise afterwards. And I think that's where Bailey stepped in, saying, "Oh, what, you did your job? Good job."
It was a very good. It was a good remark.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. So I think that was fair. Like, so it was good for him to step in. As doctors, that's what you need to do. But for him to say, "Hey, look what I just did."
Yeah.
I think that was really good that Bailey'd him.
Yeah,
exactly. All right, before we move on to anything else, we have a special announcement that we want to tell you guys.
Yes. So before we move on to our next topic, we just want to say thank you guys so much for making AfterBuzz TV the ESPN of TV talk. In order to help us grow, we ask please subscribe to our YouTube channel, leave us a comment, and give us a rating on iTunes. Again, we really just want to thank Maria and Kevin for creating AfterBuzz TV, because we're able to engage with you as fans and do what we love.
I love the snap. Like you're just bringing a whole new level to this.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, let's go on to our news and gossip. What do you got for us?
For news and gossip.
TV news.
All right, so the first thing is with Ellen Pompeo. She was in a recent interview with James Corden, and he asked how, in a predicament, like in a nutshell, how would you like this series to end? And she said, I would love to bring back some of the old cast, which I'm on board for. I think that would be...
April! Bring back April!
April's in there. We have Christina, of course, George, Arizona, Stephanie, and then, of course, Mr. McDreamy. We can't forget Derek.
They missed one name, or you guys missed one name.
What were you thinking?
Izzy.
Izzy's not on here.
What?
She's not on here.
I'm not. Yeah.
No. But
Yeah.
I love Izzy too. They should have brought
That
back.
would be cool to bring her back. She didn't die.
She didn't.
die.
She didn't.
One
And,
of the only.
She said, I will make a point. Some people on this list, they have passed away, but she's like, there has been crazier things that has happened in this series.
Yeah.
So she was just saying it would be kind of cool if they did some type of flashback.
Yeah. Or like a dream sequence.
A dream sequence, yeah, to bring them back. So she just said, you never know, but if she had a plan to direct the series finale, that's what she would want to do. But speaking of directing, Kevin McKidd, who plays Dr. Hunt, directed this episode.
Okay.
And he did such a good job. He even tweeted about it. There's his Twitter. He did in front and behind the camera.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And this was
Really cool.
really good episode. So
It was a good-
for him
yeah.
for being able to do that.
Good job,
Yeah.
Kevin. Good job.
Golf clap. Golf clap.
And that's it for your news and gossip for tonight.
Awesome. All right, let's get into our special segment. What was like just the most touching thing for you guys on this show?
For me, it was definitely Link and Amelia when they were just in the room and she was breaking down, telling him about Christopher and how she has her guard up and she doesn't know if she can go through this with another kid. And Link just being the supportive guy saying, I'm with you. Either you want the kid or you don't want the kid. I just don't want you to get hurt and I'm here for you. So they have my cure moment of the week.
My cure moment. So there were so many. I mean,
Yeah.
so many moments. I've talked about how much I love a lot of them. So my cure moment is going to be kind of a random one, but this is more so because I am who I am. I loved when Schmidt and Jackson talked about being Gryffindors because I am
How
a fellow
cool was that?
Gryffindor and I love me some Harry Potter. So I love that they
Yeah.
integrated that into the show, and that scene just made my heart smile. From Jackson's comment about Meredith
Right.
to both of them unifying and that they're Gryffindors, and Schmidt's like, I'm brave. I'm like, yeah, you are, Schmidt. So that moment was my cure moment because it gave me warm fuzzies.
That's a good one.
That was a good one. All right, my cure moment is a little weird maybe. It's when the song comes on and I'm blanking
their
on the
songs.
names.
That's a good song at
Yeah,
the end.
what is I wrote it down too. Andy Grammer, Don't Give Up. And it's playing when it starts playing with Meredith and DeLuca, and then it continues playing with Amelia and Link, and it was just. It kind of set the tone for the whole episode because
Agreed.
the whole episode was pretty much about not giving up.
Yeah.
Each topic that we talked about, Meredith, she's not giving up on, her patients or her future patients. Amelia and Link, they're not giving up on their unborn baby. Joe, Alex, and Richard. Joe, she's not giving up. Alex and Richard are not giving up on the hospital. And Miranda and her students, she's not giving up on them. And their
That's true.
students are trying to be the
That's
next
true.
Meredith and all these other
love
people.
this.
Yeah.
So that was my cure moment, and
I
that's why
love that.
I loved this episode. It was
So
amazing.
good.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Grey's Anatomy producers do a heck of a job. They always have on tying in that last song to give you all of the
Yes.
feels. I can't
Yes.
lie, I was tearing up at the end of that episode.
You had
Yes,
goosebumps.
literally, I turned and I was like, look, my arms, the hairs on my arms were standing up because
Yeah.
it made me feel so good.
It was
Shout
it
out
was
to those
awesome.
producers. They
Oh
were
yeah,
great.
definitely. Okay, let's move on to my favorite part, predictions.
That was not planned. Not planned.
AfterBuzz TV.
My predictions is going to go with Tom and Owen.
Yes.
And he is just going to make life difficult for him.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And-
He's petty.
Oh, he is.
So petty.
So petty. So, and I feel like the other doctors are going to not like him either. So it's going to be some traumatic thing that's going to happen, I think, with Tom. But he is definitely going to rub some people the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
For me, mine is going to be with Amelia and Link. I think the writers are finally going to deliver some happiness into our lives of Amelia and Link. As our friend in the chat, Katie Cat Masters, is now saying mink. So that's not the worst
Oh,
thing. Yeah,
I like it.
I like it. So maybe we can roll
Let's
with
write
it.
this down
Let us
right
know if you like Katie Cat Masters' idea of them being mink. But
Mink.
they are my prediction because let's also think back to how Amelia was with Leo. And she was such a great already motherly figure in
Yeah.
taking on those characteristics. So I think that this is actually going to be a very positive situation. That's what I'm hoping for. Come on, Grays, don't let me down. And I think they're going to have a successful pregnancy and parenthood.
That was really good. My prediction, I'm gonna go with Tom and Hunt as well. They are just gonna be bickering back and forth, I feel like, and it's just not gonna stop. It's gonna be like this little rivalry.
Actually, on that note, Benali P in our live chat says, I think Owen will end up at Pac North with Alex and Weber because of all of his problems with Tom.
That's true.
That could be.
We have some really smart listeners. Yeah.
So thanks for
that's
that.
True.
That's a great point.
That's true. I also want to touch on Jackson and Maggie. I think we're going to see more of this girl that Jackson is dating.
She's from Station 19.
Yeah, she's from Station
Yeah.
19. So, and I think that's going to give us another crossover episode, maybe.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I think Maggie eventually is going to get a new love interest, and I'm very interested in seeing who it's going to be.
Oh, speaking of that, sorry to backtrack kind of.
No,
but
do it.
I loved that last little monologue that Maggie had.
Yeah,
Right
yeah.
at the end.
So
That
good.
was like what really tied this being a very, for me, girl power episode because it was like, you speak that truth, Maggie.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there are so many women out there that actually probably needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And I just loved the way she worded it. I loved how she said it. Hers was coming from kind of a dark place, but still it was true.
Yeah.
It was
That's
very,
good.
very true about ripping off the Band-Aid if the situation presents itself. You are strong, you're powerful, you can do this.
And I felt bad for Maggie, especially when she saw that Instagram post, because it's
hashtag freedom.
Hashtag freedom.
the wound is still fresh. And I was, okay, maybe you two can explain it. I was still a little confused when Jackson explained to Maggie, what he didn't really mean it that way.
I mean,
but-
he said he didn't mean it, but let's be honest.
Sunset.
If it wasn't Memorial Day or 4th of July and you hashtag freedom,
Right. Yeah. I'm just so confused by this couple because, they did break up, but it didn't seem like a bad breakup. So I'm just surprised to see these actions from Jackson.
I think they felt so strongly for each other that now that they're literally cut ties, that I think both of them are just having a hard time adjusting. Because remember, they were such good friends prior also.
Yeah.
So now they're just not a part of each other's lives. And I think they're just adjusting to this new Maggie and Jackson that they're not used to.
Yeah. But you know what? I think this breakup is going to help Maggie for the better.
I agree.
Yeah.
I really do.
I agree.
But that is all the time we have for today. Thank you guys so much once again for joining us for another after show of Grey's Anatomy. I'm your host, Benny Adams. You can find me on all social media at Benny J. Adams.
And then you could find me on Instagram at Chelsea Overrocker. That's Chelsea with an IE. And Twitter at Chelsea Overrocker.
And I am Haley Graves. You can find me on Instagram at Haley Graves with 2 S's and on Twitter, Haley1Graves2.
We'll see you guys next time. Can't wait.
Bye, guys. Can't wait to see you
Bye.
next week.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners.